So let's go to the video. Is it time?
Sure, go for it.
All right. So you
Want me to set it up a little bit?
So, well, yeah, no, if you want. So basically you said that. Now, do you feel different about this because of information or because of what has happened in the world since you first answered this question?
Well, I'm very curious about what you think about it after you watch it, and then I'll tell you what I think. But this has been, I knew that something was off when I first heard it. And I put a lot of thought into it. I wrote the whole transcript actually of this video. I wrote the whole transcript and I was like reading it and trying to figure it out. And I couldn't put my head around it, but I knew that there was something more that I wanted to say. And I wrote you like a week ago or something that I figured it out that day. I finally figured it out. And I think you're going to understand it. And especially with, it was November 2008. Yeah, whatever, a year and a half ago, November 2018.
Yeah.
So I wonder, with you now being a year and a half ahead and you having, read Debt and being a little more into it, I wonder what you think. But I look forward to now telling you, like, with confidence, what my response will be.
All right. So let's watch.
Don't you think he's also playing the political game there?
And the he I'm referring to here is Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
Okay. So don't you think he's playing the political game here?
I mean, if a politician tomorrow just said, oh, MMT, we're just going to print it off and that's going to take care of it, we're still a long way from that messaging being effective on a mass level, which I think just being practical, that's just the reality. So
that is true.
This idea of exposing where the quote budget really goes, I think is still very worthwhile messaging. It's worthwhile to point out to people that the reason we don't have, or one of the many reasons why we don't have the types of programs other countries take for granted, is because we spend all of that money that we're told is all the money that's allotted on bombs. I still think that's a worthwhile message.
Well, again, if we say, we absolutely should say that our military is belligerent and it needs to be lowered. We absolutely should say that. We should fight for that as hard as we can and hard as we do. Same thing with the rich. We should tax the rich. They're just too powerful. But it is critical that we don't then say we must reduce the military because they're belligerent, and just imagine what we could use that money for. We could fix Flint's pipes. We could give us healthcare. We could pay off student debt. That's the connection that I'm urging everyone to break. It's just that separation.
I understand where you're coming from. I do disagree slightly. I think that you need to, if you really show people how catastrophic having an economy of war really is, they're going to be more susceptible to, well, what's the type of society we could have? And if you show them in a more basic economic way, such as making the connections of, well, gee, we could fix homelessness, we could have universal health care, we could have free college, then you're kind of leading them more towards the, oh, and by the way, they just print money at will for all these disastrous programs that pads their own pocket. We could use this knowledge to start funding and sustaining programs that benefit everybody. I think you're pitting two things against each other that aren't necessarily against each other.
Okay. I thought that was a fair exchange. I mean, I kind of see where we were both coming from.
Sure.
Yeah, I do still see, and part of this is my own experience, and I'm trying to remember exactly when that took place in 2018.
It was November.
It was November. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think it was. Sometimes, like, the years get foggy as I get older, but I think that was like right when. So this might have been right around the time I got back from the UK. I went to the UK and I went to Ireland, and I remember that I was in like the Parliament Centre or whatever it's referred to as in Scotland, in Edinburgh, Scotland, where you saw the room where they deliberate things like their government, and they have the staff that they use there. And it was a really interesting cultural experience. And they had this pie chart that talked about how they spend their money. and it was, there was a little section for the arts, there was a section for education, there was a section for healthcare, there was a section, and then there was this little, and I it always dawned on me that it's like, if the United States had this, the United States can't have this anywhere.
Oh, so they spend better is what you're saying. I didn't get that. Okay.
They what?
They spend better is what you're saying. I didn't get that.
Because if the United States ever had something like that, it would just be like war and then a little sliver, and it would just say everything other. Totally, man. And I think that's in that clip, that was what I was getting at. And so, yeah, I do think it's important that we start breaking down those preconceived notions that people have, because there are so many people in this country who just think, what do you mean we spend too much on defense? Do you not support the troops? And it's like, no, that's not what's going on here. First of all, if you want to talk about the military budget, a lot of it goes to pad the pockets of Halliburton and all these other special interest defense groups. It doesn't go to the troops because, our troops that are on the ground in these wars, if they ruin a pair of boots, they got to pay for a new one out of their own pocket. So the money certainly ain't going to them. I mean, I do see the value in that, but what did you want to update on that segment?
Sure. Okay. I have no.
Now you got the glasses on. You're recreating the whole thing.
I wrote notes. I want to get this right. I have no problems with anything that you just said. In fact, I agree with everything that you just said. This is my problem. We should do all of those things. I personally don't choose to participate in that side of it. I choose to participate in the fighting for good things side, but there's plenty of people that want to do both, and that's a good team. We're a good team. I have plenty of friends that want to do that side. I have plenty of friends that want to join me on my side.
What do you mean that side? Like what?
Pushing for good things as opposed to exposing bad things.
Okay.
Both are important.
Okay.
Both are important. I choose to do the pushing for good things stuff, but we should, be a team and do both. But this is the only thing that I do have a problem with. We should do that. But there are people currently dying on the streets right now, drinking poisoned water right now. They are suffering. They're going bankrupt. And we need to help them right now. And MMT shows that we can help them right now. And I do not think that doing those things, if it takes us away for 1 second from stopping the bleeding, that's not a good thing. Now, what I think we should do is that we should stop that bleeding, fix those pipes, start, get them healthcare and so on, and just stabilize them. I'm not saying cure them. I'm just saying start the process, stop their bleeding. And then as soon as they're stable, that is when we can have these discussions of exposing the bad and pushing the good and taxing the rich because they're too damn rich, not because we need their money, reducing the military because they're too belligerent. We absolutely should do all of those things, but we have to stabilize the bleeding first. We have the power to do that. And I'm not saying that we should go out and spend 2 years making sure that they're cured. I'm saying that we should start that process of stopping that bleeding right now, because 3 really important things come from that. Number 1 is they immediately become healthier and they join us. They know that it is possible to do, which teaches them of what the system can do in addition to your method of exposing the bad side of it. And number 3, it shows they see that we care and we can create a team even more so by doing that. So I don't have a problem with any of what you're saying. We just got to stop the bleeding first.
I understand. I don't disagree with that point, but I guess what I'm saying from just an execution standpoint, everything you just described, you're going to come up with, and I'm talking about when you're talking to the general person, not somebody who's an MMT scholar, or somebody who just really is on top of all these things, but just the general person, you're still going to come up against, how can we afford that?
Right. Well, they're
going to come up against that. And that's where I say there's value in pointing out, well, this is where our resources are going right now.
Correct. And I don't disagree with that. But that person is not going to be the person drinking poisoned water that's going to turn to you and say, how are we going to pay for that?
It's true.
So there's that. It's the right thing to do, but we need to take care of the dying first. That's all that's important to me. That they're not going to be the ones that are going to say, how are you going to pay for it, the deficit, the debt, and we need to tax the rich. They just going to be, I don't want to drink poisoned water anymore.
Right, but they're also the ones that don't really have the power.
Well, that's the point.
I mean, at the end, it's like you have to get, you have to get some policy switches here, and you're going to come up against well, how are we going to pay for that? And you need to have, I think that all the messages are valuable. I'm not saying that, talking about how our resources are being exploited and benefiting the richest of the rich of the rich. I'm not saying that has value and an MMT message doesn't. I'm saying that they both have value and they're both necessary. I don't think you should have one and not the other.
I agree. I just have that qualifier, but
no. And that does make sense. I totally see where you're coming from. That makes a lot of sense.
Good. It's been a year and a half building up in me. It's finally out.
Well, I hope it was everything you were hoping for,
and more.
Oh, and good. More. Good.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news